Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Of course, my name is Brice, partnered with one of my besties and my partner in crime, not crime, partner in healing,
Yeah.
Paula from Empowered Spirit Healing, guys. I'll tag her YouTube channel down in the description box below. Now, I'm pre-filming this for my channel because I'm going to be traveling. I don't know, Paula, when you're going to drop it on your channel, but if you're watching from Esoteric Atlanta, as you're watching this, I am traveling. I just kind of, Paula, should we share some about the little post exercise before we get into the
Yeah.
subject at hand? Should we share a little bit? So as you guys know, Paula and I run the Esoteric Academy, which we were just chit-chatting off camera before, but we have just the most amazing students
We do.
on the Academy. And Paula, it's so funny. You know, they always say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I never thought that I would ever, when I was going back and forth to India and I got authorized, I thought in my mind that I would just be a local Mysore teacher here in Atlanta, and maybe I would travel and do some workshops from time to time. But I never thought that I would be like filmed, like there would be any like internet besides a website, for AYA or whatever. And now we have this virtual yoga shala. So it's virtual. It's now everything is on the ether, on the interwebs, and we've got all these great, you guys, it's all down in the description box below. I've taken, if you're new here, I've taken my training from traditional yoga. We do have traditional yoga, we have Ashtanga on there, but we also have other all different forms of exercise to accommodate every person. And I've taken the principles of traditional yoga using exercise as spirituality, and I've integrated that into like more modern, like bar classes and walking classes and more cardiovascular classes, so that you get the same principles, but with movements that maybe you're more familiar with or more comfortable with, because traditional yoga is pretty complicated. And I truly believe in KISS, keep it simple, stupid,
Yes.
and so especially virtually when you don't have a teacher right there in your home with you. And so we have all these workouts. Paula's got awesome long form meditations, quantum healing. We have tons of courses. We're in the process of building a Law of One, an ongoing Law of One and Cassiopean course where we're going to take this information from the Cassiopeians and the Law of One. We're going to go through it, and I'm going to try to integrate it in with yoga philosophy as well. So how you integrate different philosophies into one practice. But I was thinking about it, Paula, and I said something to you this morning. We're going to be starting a playlist for post-workout meditations. So for people who, we have a lot of runners. Once you're done with so you're not tied to doing all of the workouts exclusively on the Esoteric Academy. You
Yeah.
can take that autonomy because that's what
Well,
we want. We want to teach you.
lots of people go to the gym. Some people like to go swimming. If they've got a beach near them, they might go for a swim in the morning or whatever. Some people like just going for walks out in nature or hiking or whatever. So it doesn't really matter what kind of exercise you like to do. But yeah, so you're just explaining how important it is to kind of meditate and integrate after the exercise.
So
So
that's what you see in
yeah.
yoga classes, right? Like you see at the end of the class, you lie on your mat. That is integrating. So what we're always looking at, I was saying, with yoga, it's the way the class is designed. It's pose, counter pose, neutral, or a pranic pose, aponic pose, neutral pose. And so we were always looking for that neutrality at the end so that this chaotic energy that was created intentionally by the exercise, whatever that might be, has its opportunity to integrate itself into the healing process. And I was saying to you, Paula, that I think one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about exercise as a healing tool, the healing from exercise does not happen in the exercise.
Yeah,
So when
which is
you're in
very
the
interesting.
process of running or going on a walk or dancing or you doing yoga, when you're in the process of the movement of the actual hatha, the actual exercise, your body is and your mind is being totally ripped apart. Your muscles are being ripped apart, your mind is being challenged, and all these emotions are coming up. It's almost like cleaning out. When you decide to clean out your closet, you just pull everything out of your closet. Like in that process of pulling everything out of your closet, no cleaning is being done. You're actually making it messier,
Yeah.
right? And then once everything's pulled out, then we've got to organize and put it back in and then sweep away, throw away what's not needed. And so one of the biggest mistakes people make is they'll go for like a long run, but then they won't take time after the run to allow that pranic, because running is very pranic. It's very high inducing energy. Any cardiovascular is going to be extremely pranic, which is just chi, it's life force, it's sweat, right? And it's chaotic.
Yeah.
Not all chaos isn't bad. We want it the run to pull shit up. Like that's the point, right? We want it. We want to rip the muscles up, shorten the muscles. But then people will run and then they'll just hump in the shower and then go about their day without neutralizing the overhaul that they just did. And so we want to make sure that you're taking time after that, even on your own, to sit down and then neutralize the exercise. And so we're going to create a playlist with like 5, 10, 15-minute closing post workout, different type of workouts, so that you can take that kind of your autonomy back and your sovereignty back, and that you're more knowledgeable about what you're actually doing with your body. Is there anything you want to add to that, Paula?
Yeah, well, I just love the analogy that you gave about the wardrobe. And just when we were off camera, you were saying that if you don't do that closing meditation at the end, it's like you've cleared out your wardrobe, you've put everything back that you want to keep, but then all the stuff you don't want to keep, you just leave on the floor. And it's like, well, what's the point of that? So it's like when you do that closing meditation, you're clearing out the stuff on the floor that you don't want anymore. You're clearing it out so that you only have in your cupboard the stuff that you're going to keep. And I just love that because I didn't realize that. And so I'm so grateful that you've shared that with me and that we can now share that on our channels, and we can also put this up on the website. So we were discussing that we are going to, offer a few different ones so we can, because there's people going to the gym and going for runs and things like that. So if we offer a few different ones, and I'm going to help create them too.
Yeah.
And especially with stress and anxiety, because I feel like I've done a few bit of research into YouTube to see what are the most popular meditations, because one thing that I like to focus on my channel is the meditations, and I'm now getting into the soundscapes, which are basically like kind of long-term, not long-term, it's probably not the right word, but they're like 8 to 12 hour long nice music that you can listen
Long
to.
form.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but that have binaural beats or different frequencies, angel frequencies, and you can also add subliminal affirmations and things like that. And when I've done some research into this, seriously, the things that most people want is not only deep sleep is a very popular one, but stress and anxiety is huge, because I just think that so many people are really struggling with stress and anxiety because life is just crazy. And it's like, even though
Yeah.
we've had all this new technology invented to make our lives easier, even things like the washing machine and vacuum cleaners and stuff, dishwashers, all of that was actually invented to help make our lives easier. And we still don't have any more time than we did
We
back
still
in.
create our own problems, right?
Yeah, it's
It's fun
insane.
because it's the same one. I think about like I'm going to be filming a kickboxing
Mhm.
exercise soon in the next few weeks. And kickboxing, I've always said, is really good for like people who have anxiety or anger to get it out. But if you're not sitting at the end and allowing it to integrate, it's just going to keep you in that chaotic
Yeah,
frenzy.
that like that
Yeah.
intense kind of that adrenaline running through your body, and you don't want that, because then you're going to take that into your workplace. And the thing is that when we're working in that adrenaline and we've got all that cortisol being released into our bodies and stuff, our bodies are not healthy when we're functioning off that.
Yo.
And then we're, consuming things, and then we're craving for things like sugars and coffees and junk food and stuff like that. So, because I've even noticed it too myself in the morning, the difference of when sometimes I can be a bit lazy and not want to get up. And then the way that my day can kind of eventuate, and especially because like my kids are still quite young. So if I'm not in a good frame of mind in the morning, oh my God, do my kids pick up on that? And so the morning is just stressful. But then if I do get up and I do my workout with Brice on my phone, and I've got you up on my little bookshelf and I'm working out, and then I do that meditation that you include in the exercises afterwards. Oh my God, just like just the calmness and the way that you just feel, and because of the way you've structured the exercise to be the whole what was it, I wrote it down because I loved it. The pose
Pose, counter
and the
pose, neutral.
pose. Yeah, neutral. I love the way that you do that. So just at the end of it, you just, oh my God, I just always feel so good. And I know that a few of our people have shared that in the academy of how good, especially yeah, especially one of our members I can think of, she just has written how amazing she feels afterwards because it's like you've done the work, but you've also brought us back down and just calming. And then it's amazing how productive you can be after you're
Yeah.
coming from that really clear, just calmed your body down. You know, you've kind of released all that adrenaline that's pumping through your body. It actually makes a huge difference. So I'm very
Huge
grateful to
difference.
you.
We lean in and exercise, we lean into the hard stuff, we want to lean into that frantic energy, we want to like swim in it and be there and allow that to come up and react to it. But then when it's over, we have to let it be over and we have to close it out and we have to finish, we have to, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but you know when people play with Ouija boards and they don't close it out, that's when the shit happens. Like it's kind of the same thing, like you gotta
That's the
like
same
close
as
it
with
out.
healing. It's like with healing
Yeah.
work, you know, you can open up and get all this energy flowing through as a channel and stuff like that. And that's beautiful and amazing. But if you don't close it afterwards, then God knows what comes through, you know?
And
So
that's the
you,
same thing in your
yeah,
exercise because you're opening your body, you're
yes,
opening your pores, you're
to
opening the blood flow,
release.
the oxygen. These are beautiful things that are just total destruction, ripping the muscles apart, releasing toxins, either literal toxins or emotional toxins are
Yeah,
released and being shown to you and you can react to them and be with them. And but if you're just reacting and being with them and not actually making peace with them at the end in that neutral integration, then God help everybody that's you
yeah,
get
walking
come in
around with,
contact with that day,
yeah, and
you
walking
know?
around with open portals going on.
Exactly. And that's my point. I've said this over and over and over again, Paula, and that is my total, a teacher's job is to eventually not be needed.
Yeah,
And so my job isn't just to design the workouts and not tell you why I'm doing things the way that I'm doing them. My job is to explain why we're doing the things that we're what and that's the big difference for us too, because we do have a one membership that's 25 a month that's just access to the exercise videos, right? And so with that being said, so many people join these online platforms for working out, but our intention is very different.
yeah,
We're not giving you workouts to get you a six pack. That will come. That's just going to come anyway. But
yeah.
that's not our motivation. Our
Mhm.
motivation is to show you these exercises to help you wake up to your own vital life force and
Yeah.
to understand how to control your karma and how to be that's the whole Yoga Sutras, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to be not that your mind becomes a slave to you, that you're not a master to your mind,
Mhm.
that you are in control of your life, you are in control of your reactions, you are in control of your karma. And that is a very powerful place to be. So, just to reiterate, you guys, when you're in the workout itself, I know I talk about this a lot in my real life classes here. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the platform, though. When you're actually in the process of working out, that is not where the healing is happening. That's where where total destruction is coming in.
Right. Yeah.
On purpose. We
Mhm.
want we want to go in there and blast everything,
Yeah.
right?
It kind
Because
of
we
makes me think of that's kind of like what Mr. T is doing right now. He's gotten into
yes,
the office and he's just blasting everything. He's getting
blasting
everything
everything.
open and everything out there. And then it's kind of like the cleanup and the integration happens afterwards. Yeah.
Afterwards because you can't build a new existence, a new karma, new patterning on faulty
Yeah.
foundations.
Because it just won't last.
Have to. We can't, and this kind of feeds into what we're going to talk about today, Paula. You can't be on a spiritual plane, a spiritual path, and ignore the old foundation.
Yeah.
Think about when you build a house. My stepdad is a geologist, and I always laugh that I never quite know what geologists do. I just think they play with rocks all day. But I'm
Yeah,
kind of
pretty much.
I know that he goes and like he does it, he examines like the ground to make
Mhm.
sure that the foundation is good to build a building on it, right? So if
Mhm.
we take that logic within building our houses to make sure our new houses are strong, then why wouldn't we take that logic within our body? If there's faulty wiring, if there we and this is I don't want to single anybody out at all. This is just humans. This is all of us. And it's
Mhm.
constant. We're constantly having to revisit our own thought patterns and our own faulty understanding. And I don't know if we said this on a live show or a call with our students, but when we look at the thought, so many times people They say, well, I want to change the way I think, but I'm having a hard time. I can't change, but it's
Yes.
hard to change. Okay, then don't change the way you think.
Mhm.
Change your body.
Yeah.
Work on changing because the both, if you change your body, the mind change. If you change your mind, the body change because the body is the mind field. And so in traditional spirituality, we don't sit there and bully you into trying to change your mind. We
Mhm.
understand that these thoughts sometimes are what are called samskaras, and samskaras are like deeply held karma. It's like a broken record that just skips. It's usually a thought pattern that has followed you through the different life. It's so ingrained in your psyche and your subconscious that you're not even fully aware of
Mhm.
that patterning that's there. And we respect that as spiritual practitioners, so we know that for 99.9% of the human population, just changing your mind is going to fail.
Mhm.
That's misguided. So what do? We then start with the body because that's where the patterns are unfolding anyway. This is where you thinks, and that's where the body creates patterns, and knee issues come, and hip issues, and shoulder issues because of some held belief in the mind. And so we say, okay, if there's a held belief in your mind that's causing like a knee issue, let's work on the knee issue. Let's lean into that knee issue. And then all of a sudden information comes up, right? So this destruction that we use within the actual physical exercise is of vital importance. It's vitally important because then, but what's also vitally important is then after that 45-minute hour long destruction,
Mhm.
we then sit and we organize it and we
Sorry, Brian.
integrate
I just have to pause for 1 second. Sorry.
it.
Biscoff, she's humping the pillows and like be all good if she just humped them, but she doesn't. She rips the corners to shreds, and I've had to replace so many pillowcases, and some are Duna covers, and I'm like, I can't replace that. She's
Girls just want to
like,
have fun, don't they?
oh my goodness. I know, and she's just had a period, so she really wants to have fun at the moment. Little shit. She's so cheeky,
I'll cut this
sorry.
out. That's You're fine. You're fine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
That's
where
so
are we
funny.
up to?
Okay, let's see. So with that being said, guys, we are going to be putting on a new playlist with like 5, 10, 15-minute post-workout meditations in case you want to go and take a class outside of the Esoteric Academy. We always encourage that. We're not we're not a cult. We want you to go and experience other things and gain your autonomy. If you love, we have a couple people who love running. I love running too, but we want to make sure we're giving you the information so that you can use that run or that walk in the best way possible so that you're able to understand yourself better. And I'm also going, with that being said, guys, I was just telling Paula, hopefully this week I'll be filming a brief post-run, post-walk stretch as well. So for people who need to cut, because it runs, you shorten your muscles. That's what a run is. But when we stretch, we then lengthen it to let that fresh blood come in to heal. And so I'm going to be putting that up on the Esoteric Academy as well. And so we hope that you guys, if you haven't joined us, we would love to have you. You have a 7-day free trial. I can't express that enough. We give you 7 days to try the platform out for yourself so that you don't have to commit right away. You can just see if you like it. And
That's a good tip.
yeah, so $25 a month only gets you access to the exercises and the 5-minute exercise meditations. For an extra $15, 40, you get access to all the exercise, meditations, and all the courses. And we have tons of courses, and we're working on a Cassiopean Law of One course where we integrate that into the spiritual principles of yoga. Todd's going to be putting up a Vedic chanting course soon. So, and if
Exciting.
you want to start just with the 25 a month and then upgrade later, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Totally fine. And so we also too, guys, if you go over to the episode, this is actually vitally important before we even get into the episode today. Please make sure you just go and follow and register at the Esoteric Academy because we have a tier 1, which is totally free.
Mhm.
And that's where we put a lot of our naughty YouTube
Yeah.
videos. You guys know what I mean by that. And I was telling Paula offline, things are getting even crazier. And so I don't know, people are getting hit again by YT. So we have to be very, very, very careful. So any type of episode that I have or Paula has where I just do not think it's going to do well or we might make an enemy out of YT, it will be over on the Esoteric Academy as
Yeah.
well. And on the RUMBLE too, but also on the Esoteric Academy. So, for those episodes, please make sure that you're at least registered there so you can get access to those episodes too from the free
Absolutely.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, shall we get started, Paula, with
Yes.
our our favorite little group of star constellations, the Cassiopeia.
They
And
are. They're so much fun.
I've gotten so much positive feedback from the Cassiopeians, and it tickles me. Like, I can't believe it took this long, took 5 years for me to actually do this. But I think everything has a time and a place,
Yeah.
and I am so excited that you
And
guys are doing.
maybe you just meant to wait till I came along into your life so we could do this together.
It's fascinating, you guys. And so I'm going to say again, the link to the Cassiopean forum is down in the description box below. This is a free forum that everybody has access to it, not just me. And so there's 31 years worth of material here. So I can't go through all of it. What I typically have been doing now is just typing in little phrases to see what they have to say about it. For those who are not familiar with the Cassiopeians, they're from the star constellation Cassiopeia, or that, yeah, Cassiopeia. And they follow the template of the Law of One, the raw material. I had a question about that. Somebody asked if the Law of One refers to Edgar Casey's work. No, good question though, but no, it's the raw material, the Law of One, which
Yeah.
it's going to come into the reading today. And it basically, I mean, there are 5 books with the Law of One. I've been talking about this for about since I've been on YouTube. The Law of One to me is one of the most important set of books for this time period because there's so much conspiracy out there. There's so much just people duping us out there. And I think when you know that the when you're solid in what third density is all about, you're more likely to see the bullshit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and see where
Have
you're
better
being duped.
discernment.
Yeah, that's a classier. That's a classier way of saying it. Discernment's better. And so, law of one third density. That's the density we're in. Every density has a point to it, and our point is to make a choice, either service to self or service to other. And that's just layman's terms. But I would definitely suggest. I think you can get the law of one, the PDFs online for free. We have all the books here. But is there anything you want to add to that before we get into it? Well, Paula, about the law of one, or
Yeah, well, I've personally have really been enjoying listening to your episodes about all of that and learning about it all because it's before you listening to your channel, I've never even heard of them before, and it's really fascinating, and I feel like it's helped me as well to kind of just feel more kind of grounded and not to get too carried away with what's going on in the world because it's so easy to just get carried away with different ideas and things that are happening and some of the truthers and what they kind of share, and it's just you get all carried away with that, and then you kind of realize that, oh well, none of that's ever happened. It's not happening, or
yeah,
years later. So it's been a huge help for me as well. Absolutely, just learning about it. I still haven't personally read through the Law of One, but it is on my list of things to read. I am wanting to, like, I've started to read it. And there's also, oh yeah, one of our lovely members sent me a link for a YouTube person channel that does actually read it.
yeah,
So I've been able to start listening to it. And I find it really fascinating. It's quite interesting the kind of process that they go through to kind of be the channel, and the kind of, yeah, Zalora one is quite different to the Cassiopeians, but
yeah.
has that same framework. So yeah, it's
They're
really
very
fascinating.
similar. They
Very
use the
similar.
same
Yeah.
template.
Yeah.
They're using the exact same template of the law of one, and law of one can be incorporated into any religion, any belief system. It's just literally, and it's interesting because even thinking about like service to self or service to others, to graduate service to others, you have to be 51% service. You have a lot of wiggle room to mess up. To be service to self, you have to be like 94, I think, percent. So it's harder to go service to self. You have to be like diabolical, which is why the
They
establishment does what it does because it's
are
trying to
insane.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what?
And
It helps even understanding that as well.
yeah,
Because,
I've said that when
yeah,
you understand what the establishment is trying to accomplish,
then it's like,
beyond this
oh my
life.
God, that's why they are so incredibly cruel and do such horrible things. It's because they have such a high bar to get up to in
Yeah,
order to
you
graduate
you
that way.
understand it. You don't agree. You don't want that, but you all of a
No.
sudden, and the Cassiopeans say all the time that knowledge protects you, and knowledge is power, and knowledge is infinite. So the more you understand the negative side, which is what we're going to get into today, the more you understand the negative side, the more protected you are, because the negative side is what's manipulating, doing all the manipulation. For example, believing in a med bed, thinking a med bed is going to fix you, is service to self. That's a service to self belief. That's a negative polarity belief, to be expecting a med bed to just fix you.
Mhm.
When God already gave you everything you need in your body to fix yourself, it just takes a little effort on your part, right?
Yeah.
That's also, you can even see within like the truther community. That's why I've been saying for a long time, it doesn't matter what you know. What matters is the choices that you make and how it affects the world around you,
Yeah.
right? So just because you know about certain things going on in the world does not guarantee that you're going service to others. And so it keeps you working on yourself. Like the law of one is a constant self-reflection. It's a constant understanding. If I have some service to self traits, which we all do, because you only have to be 51% service to others, let me look at those traits, figure out where they're coming from so that I can heal that part of myself so that that trait doesn't have any power over me anymore. And so what we're talking, and actually this was Todd's idea. Todd was like, you and Paula should cover the love and light community. Now, this was from July 24th, 1999, and they have a lot of different readings on the love and light community, because the love and light community, Paula, is not a positively oriented belief.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are going to
Which
be
is,
shocked by that.
yeah, I mean, it was shocking to me too. And so the love and light side of things, how do you believe that fits into the New Age movement?
Well, I always laugh because in the Ashtanga world that I come from,
Mhm.
um, it's so different from like the new like tradition. So new age, that term in itself is a term that was created by the three-letter agency,
Mhm.
just like conspiracy theorist. And this was a term to incorporate into what I would call to be the infiltrated spirituality. And with that, we get the toxic positivity. We get this idea in corrupted spirituality that you don't need to exercise. So don't work on your shadow stuff. Just you're fine. It's kind of the same thing as like the body positivity movement. Like to be positive about your body is a great thing, but the movement is not about that. The movement is about glorifying imbalance. And that's not what we do. We, regardless of whether you're overweight or not, you're valuable as a human being, yes, but we need to figure out why you're overweight, what's going on. we
Yeah, because
that's
it's just a reflection of an imbalance, just the same
Yeah,
as any kind of health issue. You know, headache
absolutely.
and anything like that is just simply an imbalance in the body and the
And so
body's
to
way of letting
glorify
us
that
know.
imbalance, to
Mhm.
to to believe that you don't have to do anything to work on that, is service to self.
Yeah.
It's just like the med beds are service to self, right? And so we start to understand, people who try to make excuses for not doing the work. That's all coming from a selfish, a service to self perspective. And that's fine. That's your choice. You can do that, but you might not end up where you think you're going to end up, because that's the
Yeah.
law of karma. And so now another thing I want to remind people is that we are in third density. No one on the earth right now, like we can't, people who say like, well, I've already, I'm enlightened. That's bullshit. That's obviously service to self, because you can't actually reach that here in third density. We can just move towards that, so that the next existence, when there's less density, because the higher you go, the less dense you are, we can get closer to that. And so we are in third density. There's no escaping it. People who think that for some reason um, they're not part of the rules of third density, that's their own delusion or narcissism, because that's just common sense. Like we're all here. Like regardless of whether you're a wanderer who came down from a higher density, it doesn't matter. You still came down to third density,
Yeah.
right? Some people think that they think they're wanderers, so therefore they think somehow they don't have to fall into the same rules as people who are just fourth density eligible, but that's not true, because you volunteered to come back to third density, so you're in third density. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if your soul came from sixth density or fifth density, you're here in third density. And so you have
Yeah.
to play by the rules of the game.
And
And
it's
so,
the same as with the whole like, because I've read some books about different, whether like you're an incarnated angel or an incarnated star being or an incarnated fairy or different elementals and stuff like that. There's that theory as well, which I love. I think that's beautiful, but it doesn't matter where you
Doesn't
incarnated
matter.
from. At the end of the
Doesn't
day,
matter.
you still chose to be here in the third density, and you've got to deal with that. So,
Right now, that's a form of, for me, that's a form of escapism.
mhm, mhm.
Too. And yeah, and if you look at the yoga perspective, like even if you are an incarnated angel or an incarnated starseed, that's still part of the nature, which is still part of the illusionary world.
Mhm.
Because the soul is none of that. The soul is none of that. The soul is a
Yes, that's
consciousness,
true.
right? And that's who you
Yeah.
really are, is your soul,
Mhm.
not your body. Your body is just an experience to refine the soul, but it's not the soul.
Yeah.
So, and so it really, I would highly suggest people just really, again, you can find the Law of One books, the raw material, where any bookstores, anywhere where books are sold. But I do believe, again, Paula, you said you could probably type it again into YouTube. I'm so happy so many people are going through this now because I think this is so important for this time specifically,
I think so
for
too.
people to like wake up a little bit. Because I kid you not, Paula, I think at this point in the game, the truther community is the most asleep community.
Wow.
I think they're way more asleep than the normies now. And I think it's because, and my boyfriend explains this better than I, that when you start to wake up, it's so uncomfortable to wake up
Mhm.
that subconsciously you want to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And so you cling to junk conspiracy. And when you cling to junk conspiracy, the lies, that's the soul smashing, right? That's the selling your soul. You go back to sleep.
Mm.
So I would say probably 99% of the truther community is back to they went back to sleep. They're following another lie. Just like the normies are following a lie, they're also following a lie.
Wow.
And that was done on purpose because the
Mhm.
powers that be know this law of one stuff. They know how to manipulate people. And so they stepped in as the savior to hypnotize people back to sleep. Oh, that's just someone in a mask. That's just, don't worry, the med beds are coming. Don't take care of your health. Don't do your work 'cause the med beds are coming.
Mhm.
Like, and
Yeah.
then you follow
And I
along.
mean, look, even I fell for that for a little while, and it's just so easy to, but it's really important. I feel like it's our job, it's our responsibility to keep researching, to keep working on ourselves, no matter what.
Yeah. And I will say too, to want immortality, to reach for immortality, that's service to self.
Mm. Yeah,
Service to others
personally,
is,
I don't. I always joke to my kids that I'm going to live till like I'm like 125 because I've just chosen that's the age I want to live to. But I don't know that I would want to live any older than that. I feel like
yeah,
it's just it's I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. I think it's just kind of you get to the end of that and then it's like, okay, I just need a break now for a little while before you
let's
start going
go.
on to something else. You know?
I mean, even if our sorry guys, I just got a text from YouTube. It was nothing. It just told me to check out. I was like, did they already striking
Oh
videos?
no.
No, they were just like, check out your analytics. Even if our lifetime, our lifespan were to expand, that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're still accepting that there's going to be a time where we leave this body
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
And to have that acceptance, because listen, we are in mortal bodies. There's no, what's the famous American quote? Nothing is certain except for death and taxes. Like, you
Yeah.
know, we are going to leave the world behind one day. And to try to stay here forever means that you have to take energy from others. You have to
Mhm.
steal energy. That's where we get vampirism from.
Yeah.
That's all service to self. We know from the whistleblowers from the med beds that in order to get into one of those things, those contraptions, you have to sell your soul. You have to because it's going for immortality. So there's no getting into this magical, there's no magical pill. That's not how this works. It's not why you didn't. And where's the fun in that? Like, what would the fun in that be? Like, if you just came down and took a pill and it was okay, like, where's the fun in that?
Yeah, well, it's no challenge.
Do you
It would
want to
just
go
be
on a roller
boring.
coaster ride where all you do is just sit strapped to the cart and nothing happens?
Yeah, that would be pretty boring.
No, you want to feel that adrenaline rush. You want to feel all of that happening. Like you want to go on the ride.
Yeah.
So, and I always say people like it's your privilege. Like why would you give away your own power to a contraption? You have the power of God inside of you. You have a nervous system. Your body is meant to rebuild itself.
Mhm.
So why not use that ability and meet, and yeah, it's hard work. You have to meet God in the middle. There has to be effort put out on your part. But are you that entitled and that narcissistic to think that you don't need to put the effort in that others do? Like that's where we have to like
Yeah.
reevaluate our perspectives on this. Yeah. So with that being said, we are going to get to the love and light community with one of the, now we have to be careful of our words, guys. So if I have to bleep any words in the editing process, you might be able to tell if you're driving right now, you might be able to tell the word that we're not saying or we're bleeping because of the context of the sentence. But other than that, if you need to stop and watch this on the screen so you can actually see the transcript, I would highly suggest that, guys. That's just what we have to do right now. So, Paula, do you want to take it over? Do you want to read?
Sure. All right. So we're reading a transcript from July 24th, 1999. And we have Ark, Laura, and Frank. So question, hello. Answer, hello. Question, who do we have with us this evening? Answer, Canopy. Question, and where do you transmit through? Answer, Cassiopeia. Okay, so question. I have been having a dialogue with a fellow on the net in the last week or so who is very well versed in the Ra material. He sent me a large chunk of volume 5 of the Ra books, which was material that had not been released earlier. It seems that during the times that Don Elkins was asking some questions about different conspiracies and the nature of the fourth density service to self manipulations, and some other rather grim subjects, that there was some sort of judgment made by this group or members of this group, that such subjects were not appropriate lines of questioning for an service to others channel. They were apparently considered to be focusing on negative aspects. Therefore, they were not of love and light. Such questions and directions of questions were therefore discouraged or agreed by this group to not be desirable to pursue. Don Elkins did, however, commit unaliving. Can you tell us why? Answer. Unaliving is a a chosen pathway for the purpose of close realization of shutting off the noise. Yeah, that's interesting way of looking at it, but I totally get that. Question, what noise was he wanting to shut off? Answer, it is a figure of speech. Question, I would like to understand. Here, these folks had this marvelous contact with Ra. Answer, contact with Ra does not preclude the possibility of attack. Question, why did Ra not convey to him the information necessary to understand that he was under attack and what kind of attack it was and how to deal with it? Answer, the questions were not asked. Question, why were the questions not asked that would have protected him? Answer, love and light. So that's very interesting, isn't it? So if they had, so do you believe, Brice, that if they had been willing to ask more questions about some kind of deeper, darker kind of subjects, perhaps he might have had a bit more guidance and help towards how to
Yes,
deal
because
with that.
knowledge is protection. Knowledge is
Mm.
protection. So basically, Don Elkins was trying to ask about the service to self side, and the other people in the my mind's gone. It's early, guys, in the morning. The other two people were like, "No, we can't ask those questions because we're of the light, so we can't ask about." And so he stopped asking, and they're saying, well, why didn't Ra warn him? Well, remember, guys, Ra, the raw material, and the Cassiopeans are all service to others. So what does that mean? They respect our free will. So
Absolutely.
they're not going to tell us things unless we ask, because they
Mhm.
don't want to interrupt our free will. So the three of them, the two of them ganged up on Don Elkins and forced him to stop asking these questions. So he capitulated and stopped asking. His attacks got worse to the point where he had to remove himself because it was too much.
Mhm.
Why didn't Ra warn him that he was under spiritual attack? Well, because he didn't ask and they stopped, they discontinued, they wouldn't let him ask more questions. You have to understand in order to be fully on a service to others path, you have got to understand the other side. You have to understand the rules of the game. And why were the questions not asked that would have protected him? Well, love and light, of course, because why would you talk about that? That's why this is the early days of what's called now toxic positivity.
Mm-hmm. And I just think that the fact that this happened is so incredibly sad. But wow, what a powerful lesson for us to learn, that we
Yeah.
need to ask about that. And I think it's really important to emphasize as well that you have to ask. If you don't ask, it's even with angels, with guides, with anything. If you don't ask for assistance that is for your highest good, they cannot help you because their service to others. They're not going to step into your free will. I mean, as far as I know, the only way that they will actually step in without you asking is if it's not a part of your life plan. If some
Yeah.
kind of a tragic accident happens and you could potentially not be here
Not your
anymore,
time. Yeah.
then yeah, if it's not your time, then they will step in to help you in that instance. But apart from that, they don't do that because that's not their job. It's our job to ask for help with whatever we want. And I am pretty blown away, Brice, because it never really occurred to me in the past either to look into things like even like black magic and things like that, and just trying to understand, or even like, I haven't read it yet, but even understanding about the Satanic Bible and stuff like that, because it's when you understand, not that I'm personally not interested in any of that at all, and I know that you're not, but it's just, but by understanding how they think, how they work, how they're
Yeah.
doing it. It's just kind of, it's like in a sports game, for example. If you understand the tactics of the other team playing against you, then how much better can your team play?
Absolutely. And that's the controlled opposition when they tell you or they try to scare you about like one of the best books I've ever read is this one, Dead Names. I did a study in the Necronomicon, a deep dive into it a long time ago, but then I
Yeah.
read my friend Rocker Mike, Dead Names, which is the dark history of the Necronomicon, and the first part of it is written under a pseudonym Simon, where he talks about the occult. And
Mhm.
occult just means hidden knowledge. So even
Yeah.
he talks about like their good practices and their bad practices, but he studied both. And therefore, because there's scenes in here where because he studied both, he's able to put boundaries up. Like he tells incidents where people will ask him to come to his house to do something, but they're kind of vague. But because he studied the black arts, that it's not vague to him. He can tell they're trying to manipulate him, and so he's able to say no because he knows. So that knowledge is power. You have to know these things
Mhm.
in order to understand and protect yourself. You have to know what manipulate. Like look at how much the study of narcissism has grown. The more we understand narcissistic personality disorder, the more we can remove ourselves from situations involving narcissists.
Absolutely.
Whereas before, we just thought it was our problem. We had to fix these people. Now we know we
Yeah.
can't fix them, so we
Yes.
can protect ourselves.
And now you know what red flags to look for. So you're not going to go jump into a relationship with somebody like that or spend time with a friend like that because you're like, oh, okay, wow, there's those little red flags. And of course, it's not the first red flag that you jump at, but when you're noticing more and more and more of them, and you decide, okay, I can't keep giving my time to this person because it's not right.
You
But
have
without that knowledge, none of us knew that. So all of us were walking into these toxic relationships. So
Yeah,
yeah, I just feel like this is so important. And it's just so sad that this happened to Don, but also what a powerful lesson for us to learn from. Um,
absolutely. And I was saying with Ashtanga, we never sign our emails in Ashtanga Love and Light. Like whenever I get an email signed Love and Light from a yoga person, I'm like,
oh
that's
wow.
kind of
I
embarrassing.
just realized that's
Yeah,
what
like
my YouTube channel says. I say I'm sending love and light to
maybe,
everyone.
maybe. Yeah. One, we talked about this before, like how when you try to send healing to people that haven't asked for it,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
invading their free will. That's a
Hmm.
service. You are trying to take control over that person in that moment. That's a service to self, to send healing, prayer, and light to people that haven't asked you for it. You
Yeah.
are acting in the negative polarity because you're serving yourself. You're not
If
serving
it
them. They
makes
didn't
you
ask
feel
for
good
it.
to do that, yeah, but they might not
Yeah.
actually want that. Well, I think
And
I'll
it's
change my YouTube thing.
well, it's you telling the universe that you think you know better than that person. that you know better than their
Hmm.
soul contract. You know better. You're trying to interrupt their karma, which karma is lessons. As the Cassiopeians say all the time, it's all lessons.
Hmm.
And so, why do you think, and we see this a lot with the truther community, where they think they know better? Why do you think you know better? Why
Yeah,
are you
I
trying
mean,
to
just
interrupt
because you've got knowledge in one little area doesn't mean that you know everything about everything and what's right for
Exactly.
somebody else. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you have to back off and let people live their karma,
Hmm.
because karma is lessons, and that's all we're here for is lessons.
Yeah.
And so the love and light community is highly misguided. And we're going to get into it. And this is interesting. This is what I brought up about the third density. We're all in third density.
Yeah.
That's where we are. No one, if someone tells you they're not, either they're delusional or they're trying to manipulate you. This is the knowledge you seek now. You can see is common sense. We're all here on the planet together. So now
Yeah.
you have that knowledge. If someone says, well, I'm actually living in the fifth dimension, no, they're not. No, they're not. So you have that knowledge. So now you can make an appropriate choice. Do I continue seeing this person who's obviously delusional
Yeah.
or misguided, or do I protect myself?
Hmm.
So let's get into why this is. So let's start again with this question right here, Paula.
Okay. So, question: why were the questions not asked that would have protected him? Answer: love and light. Question: so, because they were so focused on the love and light aspects. Answer: there is no positivity without negativity. Question: so, positivity alone becomes, in effect, negativity or becomes null. Answer: no, there is always negativity present, whether acknowledged or not.
So let's pause
Interesting.
there because we're in a polarized, that's the polarity of third density, right?
Yeah. So whether we acknowledge the negativity or not, it's still there. It's like the law of gravity. We don't have to acknowledge the law of gravity, but it's still there.
Right. So all these people, and that's where it becomes dangerous in the spiritual community when somebody thinks, if somebody's telling you they don't have any more karma, then you're either talking to a ghost or they're delusional.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a body, you still have lessons to learn.
Mm.
The contract, the school is it. You haven't, when we leave our bodies, when we that day finally comes, that's like breaking, that's like for summer break, right? We've just broken for summer break. We finished third grade and now we're breaking for summer before we enter fourth grade,
Mhm.
right? So if you're still in third grade, you're still in third grade, right? You haven't broken for, right? So in this polarized planet, third density, because the purpose of third density is to make a choice, we have to have friction. So two opposing forces or polarity. So where there's a north, there's a south. Where there's an east, there's a west. Where there's a right, there's a left. Where there's a male, there's a female. Everything in our life is polarity. Where there's a night, there's a day. It's two polarized opposites. Even with energy, sorry guys, my dog is snoring. So if you hear weird noises, he's a loud sleeper. It's not a demon, it's my dog. Where we have upward rising prana, we have downward rising or downward flowing apana, right? And so that's the law. And so if you have people that are not willing, if they're just all love and light and don't talk about negative things and think positively, and you're not willing to look at the negative stuff doesn't go away. What you resist persists.
But don't you feel like
So the more
sometimes it gets even stronger for somebody? Like if they're just
Mhm.
ignoring it and pushing it down and pushing it down, it's almost like this thing that just starts to get ready to burst, and then something will happen in their life that just completely blows up in their face because it's
Yeah,
it's
they've
it's
resist.
trying to
Yeah,
get out. You've got to face this stuff and deal with it. It's not nice, it's not pleasant, but it's really got to be done. And I
where
think
you
that's why a lot of people aren't really into really genuine healing either,
yeah,
because it
it's
is
hard.
it's really uncomfortable, and it brings up a lot of stuff that you don't want to remember or deal with. And it's very emotional. And for people that aren't comfortable with emotions, I mean, I'm a Pisces, so I cry at the drop of a hat, so I'm pretty comfortable. I'm a very emotional person, but for people that aren't comfortable with emotion, they tend to have a lot of health problems too. A lot
Yeah,
of holding things in sinuses and chest infections and things like that. It's a lot of grief and things that hasn't come up and been dealt with.
Yeah, well, what you resist will persist. Where your focus is where the energy will flow.
Mhm.
So, and think about that within yourself. Like that's why you only have to be 51% service to others to graduate service to others. Because just as you have good qualities of your personality, you also likewise have bad qualities of your personality. That's what we call it the shadow side.
Mhm.
Just because you have light in you doesn't mean that you don't also have darkness. And darkness is where, you think about, like, let's think about like the womb of a woman. So the sperm hits the egg and a light flashes. So light creates, there's a flash of light.
Mhm.
But then once that light has sparked and that baby is starting its formation, it's in darkness. So where the shadow side is, that's where the growth actually happens. We see it in nature too.
Yeah.
And so if we're just focusing on the positive aspects of our personality, and not paying attention to our shadow side, there's no growth.
Wow.
There's
I
no
never thought
evolution.
of it like that. And
Yeah.
it's like with sleeping too, it's in the darkness when we're asleep that's when our growth, we're growing like little kids, for example, and babies, they grow when they sleep so much because that's when they grow. And it's when
Yeah.
we're awake during the day that we're busy. Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the problem. And they're saying there is no positivity without it, not here on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And that's what we're concerned about right now. We're not worried about fourth density or fifth density. Right now, our concern, that's like telling a third grader that they should be concerned about what's happening in the sixth grade. No, a third
Yeah,
grader needs to focus on the work in the third grade because that's what's going to get the third grader to the fourth grade.
that's right.
Right? And so we have to acknowledge both sides of ourselves because that's being polarized. And we can't give it, it takes the fear away. And when we start to really work on and lean into those dark parts of ourselves, that's when the healing comes because we're actually acknowledging those sides of ourselves that aren't so great. And not one person on this earth doesn't have a shadow side. Every single human being has a shadow side. That's the point of being a third density.
Yeah.
It's the point. And I will say too, I wanted to bring this up with the whole like God, Robbie's so loud. He's snoring so loud. Um um we always laugh he's got good karma because he was rescued off the streets of India. He must have done something really good in his past life to be snoring
Comfortably on a couch.
right
Yeah.
now. um
Oh, hello. It's
can you
frozen.
hear me?
Oh, yep, there you are. You're back.
Okay. Oh, they don't like us talking about this, guys. So I'm gonna actually ask for protection right now to ask
Mhm.
for it. So all of my people, my beings that are here to protect the technology so that we can talk about this. I don't consent to the badness being around, but I am asking for help right now from the powers that be to keep our internet stable and our technology stable. But the Cassiopeans have said that every single time people have claimed to see the Mother Mary, every time, without exception, it's been a lizard being.
Wow.
But that makes sense, right? Because
Yes.
every time people have seen the Mother Mary, they're not asking to see the Mother Mary. The
Yeah,
Mother
of
Mary is here to them.
course. And of course, in a good, like a being of actual love and light, that's for our highest good, would not come without being asked.
And
Wow, that's
sometimes they don't even come when they are asked
yes. Mm-hmm.
because they know that's not part of your soul contract and this is an issue you're going to need to go through
Mm-hmm. And I think
because
it's
they're all
also a bit of an ego thing because I kind of went through that stage and I was like, well, I just really want to see an angel. And I was like, come on, just let me see you kind of thing. But at the end of the day, does it really matter whether I've seen an angel or not? I've still got to do the work on myself. I've still got to
yeah.
do, I've still got to go through everything that I need to. It's not really gonna change things that dramatically if I've physically seen one or not. So I think that's just people get very caught up in the ego idea of it.
Well, I mean, and you as a human being are just as magnificent and special as an angel. You're
Hmm.
also a creation of the Most High. You're
Yes.
also magical. So to give your power away, and I will say too, even when you call for help, guys, you have to be careful with that too, because the Lizzies they call the dark demons Lizzies, the Cassiopeans, so that's what I'm calling them. They'll step in and they'll manipulate if you're desperate. So you have to be wise. You have to be able to ask, like my friend Cindy always asks when she does her clearing work, when she encounters a being, are you here for unconditional love? That's the
Mhm.
question she asked. I mean, they talk about that with Joseph Smith, the guy who founded Mormonism, that he was searching for spirituality, and then his vision was God and Jesus and this Moroni angel, but he never thought to ask them, are you really who you claim to be? And because he never asked that, his ego got triggered, because all of a sudden he's the one getting this new information. And now
Mhm.
we have this very satanic religion out in Utah that is caught so many people because Joseph's ego, he never stopped to ask to these beings, are you really an angel? Are you here for unconditional love?
Mhm. Yeah, and most of us don't think to ask that. And that's another thing of why you kind of need to study the dark stuff so that you can
Mhm.
understand this. Because if you
But they'll
don't,
do that.
yeah,
They will absolutely do that. They will put a costume on and they will come in. And as I talked about in one of the readings, there sometimes the Lizzies will give channels correct information to predict things for a long time. They'll predict all these things, but they're doing that in order to hook people,
yeah,
so that once that prophet has hooked people, then
mhm,
they can start manipulating it.
yeah,
So you always have to have discernment. And anybody who claims to be a prophet, I have a huge problem with that, because y'all, we're all prophets, like samesies, like we're all prophets on the good side. We all have direct communication with the divine,
yeah,
all of us.
we do. Yeah,
Any belief system where you can go to a healer to help you, but Paula, like when you're healing people or I'm working with people, all I'm doing is reacting off of the person. They're
absolutely.
really in charge.
And the thing is, if someone comes to have a healing session and they're not actually open to it and not there for their own, they've been convinced by a loved one that they should go along, they're not going to get the effects of the healing because they're not open to it. So that's where
Yeah, because it's
it's
coming from
also,
their own.
you've got to do that work on yourself. You've got to be open to it and you've got to be willing to let go of things and to allow that healing to come in. So it's not just all, and I've done that a lot in the past too with my kinesiologist. I've been like, oh my God, just you've helped me so much. And she's like, Paula, don't forget about all the work that you have done too. It's not just me. So you have done a lot too. And she's right, because I do a lot of work. And it's so easy to forget that and just think, oh my God, this person has saved me. But we've worked together as a team, to
You've saved
help.
yourself.
Yeah,
With the help of that person, you've saved yourself.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing like as a teacher for me. I can sit there and teach you the philosophy and the
Yeah.
reasonings, the who, what, where's, and whys till I'm blue in the face. But it's up to you to actually integrate that. So you're the one that's actually taking that information and creating your own power with it.
And
I'm just
doing the practice every day and showing up to the classes and doing the work.
I'm
Yeah.
just the messenger. That's all I am. You're the one you're the star of the show.
Mhm.
And it's that whole saying, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And so if you're going to a healer thinking that healer is just going to bippity boppity boo you better, you're misinformed.
Yeah.
If you're with somebody who says that they alone can make you better, you're also misinformed.
Yeah.
It's
And
that
that's
effort.
when you need to be scared.
Yeah, exactly. It's that
If
effort of meeting somebody halfway. You have to always put effort into. That's the energy exchange as well, right? That's that energy exchange. And so, yeah. So I guess we could pick it up for there is no positivity without negativity.
yes,
Oh
yeah,
no, we've already read that, haven't we? Let's go.
yeah.
So yeah.
The questions. So you are saying that if it is not acknowledged, placed on the table, so to speak, that it sort of bites you no matter what. That in some ways it will manifest. And if a person goes to an extreme in terms of love and light, the negativity will come in the back door. Answer close. Question. Okay, there was a little bit more about Linda, how do you say her name?
How? Think
How?
how?
And David Jacobs on the net recently. Bruce Maccabee wrote an article in which he described the difference in attitudes between David Jacobs and Linda Howe. David Jacobs, of course, thinks the whole alien thing is fourth density service to self. He pretty much understands it and has a grip on the negative nature of these manipulations. But Maccabee mentions that Linda Howe is inclined to follow the aliens are here to help us no matter how horrible these things they do seem half. She seems to be trying to find goodness in all of it, despite the in-depth investigations she has done into the cattle mutilations and so forth. Wow. So once again, this has come up in discussion. Comment, please. Answer. Specifics, please. Question. Well, once before you said she was not corruptible, but this blindness to the negative nature of our reality and the obvious manipulation seems to be a form of corruption. Answer. No, you are reading too much into critiques. There is much jealousy within the UFO community. This manifests as sniping, name-calling, and other forms of skullduggery. You have tasted some of this bitter tea yourself, and of course, it is all representative of attack. Question. Ark. Well, we were talking about Don Elkins, and essentially, he was under attack, but the questions were not asked that could have helped him to understand this. I would like to ask, if we are under attack now, is it better to ask the question? Answer. You have always been under attack, but the difference is that you have awareness of it. Knowledge protects. Question, Laura. Well, if Carla were here, would you say anything to her? Answer, yes, but this is not important.
So Carla was the one, Carla Ruckert, she was the one that was
Yes.
channeling.
Yes. Question, Ark. I am always suspicious. We had this car stopping in front of our house, and I was suspecting that they were doing something, beaming something at us, or deploying some kind of frequency at us. Was my suspicion justified? Answer. Ask yourself by examining the details. What did the vehicle look like? What did it do? What did the occupants look like, etc.? Observation is the companion of awareness. Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? You want to pause there for a second?
Sure.
Because this is missing in the truther community.
Yeah.
This feeds into cognitive dissonance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So everybody who thinks a movie is being played out, well, the last 4 years here in the United States, you're seeing people go homeless, lose money, get sick. You're
Struggling to pay their
seeing,
bills.
yeah, you're believing a lie while seeing the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to be aware of your own sense reality of what you're actually seeing and experiencing for yourself so that you're not manipulated by those that wish to harm you.
Yeah.
And how does that, when they say you're always under attack, the way
Yeah.
they say it kind of nonchalantly, you've always been under attack, but the difference is that you're aware of it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a huge difference when you're aware of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Because then you can be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you
Yeah.
think when they're saying that you are always under attack, do you think they're referring to just everyone in the world?
No, I
Everyone
take it that they
specifically.
mean, I mean, everyone is subject to be under attack,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes back to the Emerald Tablets as well, where Thoth says this too. This group, just like you and me and many of our people watching right now, have been working on themselves and working on this and trying to figure out everything for decades now.
Yeah.
And because of that, if you and I were just you girls that were just interested in doing drama channels where we did celebrity gossip, we probably would be making a lot of money and would probably have easier lives than we have now because we're not a threat to the
Yeah.
service to self. But when you start to work on yourself and when you start to have certain realizations and you get closer to the truth, you are attacked. There's multifaceted. One, they want you to stop working on yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you are a high density soul, because when you look at souls too, we kind of look at I mean, I'm not a steak eater, but what's a sirloin steak, the creme de la creme of steaks? Like think about the most expensive steak you can eat
Mm-hmm.
that has more nutrient value than the hamburger at McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you are polarizing positive, if the darkness can come in and sway you to the negative, and the closer you get to positive, the more swayable you are. And how did they do that? They make your life really hard. We've seen this happen to people. You
Yeah.
know, like they've hit me hard financially. They've attacked my finances. And so
Yep.
let's say that somebody comes along and says, I'm going to give you $10 million to do this story instead. But
Mm.
you know the story's a lie.
Yeah.
You're desperate for money.
Yep. And they'll see if you'll take it. And that is a
Yeah.
huge test. Yeah.
So they'll attack you to make you so vulnerable that it's easy to swoop in and pull you to the side. Or they do things which they've talked about where I mean, I know I've had unaliving ideation before. I get that. I know what that's like to feel like there's no hope and that
Yeah.
you're just constantly being attacked. So they'll either try that too or get you just to remove yourself,
Yeah.
especially when you have a YouTube channel like you and I do.
Mm-hmm.
So where, if you and I were just doing this together, just Zooming without anybody around or ever publishing this and didn't tell anybody about the Cassiopeians or the Law of One, then we would get less attacks.
Yeah. Because we're just
Because
focusing
the
on
only
ourselves. But
we're
by
not we
sharing
might
this,
affect our friends, we might tell our friends about it, but we're not affecting people that's why I'm so shadow banned.
yeah, because they don't want you reaching so many people because this information is so important.
Right. And it's not about me. I'm just the messenger. And this is
Yeah.
so people can start to do this. And so many people have. Like I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, you realize because it's really him who introduced this template to so many people
Yeah.
through my channel, through me. And so but so the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to be attacked. They talk about that. And I did a show once where I talked about when I first heard that I know reading these transcripts publicly are dangerous. I know that. But what else are you going to do to me? You've already done the worst you can to me. And I sincerely want people to, it makes me sad when I see people so manipulated or selling their souls or giving their power. I sincerely want people to have their own power.
Yeah.
People who have their own power, who do their own thing, are the coolest people in the world, right? They're just so, and I want to live in a world where none of us are intimidated by each other, where we all just claim our own power and we're all respectful of each other and we celebrate each other. That's the world I want to live in. Maybe that is me being selfish, but I want to live in that world where there is no manipulation, where there is nobody trying to dominate somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I'm risking that. I know even before I decided to do this, Paula, I had a conversation with Todd. We sat down and talked about it because I know that there could be pushback from this. And so I sat down and we talked about it and the pros and the cons. But because I know that, because I have that knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
I can handle it. I'm expecting it. Does that make sense? So I think, yes,
Absolutely.
everybody's always under attack at some point, but I think it changes depending on what the choices that
Yeah.
you're making.
Mm-hmm. And what impact you're having and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or the fact that I could be doing this, Paula, and somebody could watch this who has a way bigger channel than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could start talking about it, right? You never know the domino reaction
Exactly.
of what your voice is going to help or what's going to happen?
Yes. And at the end of the day, it's not really so much about us, it's about the fact that the more people that can learn about this and help it to impact their lives and their family and friends, then we're going to be so much closer to having a world just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the stuff they talk about is interesting too. I mean,
Oh
don't get me
yeah.
wrong. Some of the stuff is super entertaining. I love it when they get snarky. I
Yeah.
love it when they like when she asks, why did it not work? They're like, love and light. That's why, like they're just they can get a little snarky sometimes, and I find that funny. And they don't tell you what you want to hear. They tell you the
No,
truth.
they really
There's
don't.
They don't, and there's super interesting things, like I released a show on Monday with Anne Rice. Like she was
Yes, I did
inspired
watch
by
that today.
Lizzie. And I
Yeah.
love Anne Rice books, but she was got her story inspiration from the Lizzies. And then they asked about Stephen King, and they were like, no, I'm paraphrasing. They were like, no, he's just a fucked up human. It was just a car.
I know.
I,
I was
they
listening
didn't
to it today. It's so funny.
they didn't say that way. They said it's his own cardinal desires, but my translation is they're like, no, he's just fucked up. No one
Yeah.
needed to help him with that. Like he did that all on his
He's
own.
already got that in himself.
So they're funny sometimes, but this is so important and I just want people to be free. I want humanity to be free. I want people to be liberated. I'm tired of pecking orders. I'm tired of
Yeah.
false saviors. I want everyone to be free. That's my goal. And that's why I'm doing this. And I thank everybody watching for sharing these and for commenting. And,
Yep.
it takes all of us together, working together as a social memory complex to spread this information to help each other. So anyway. So I guess we could start back with this.
Yep, no problems. Okay, so question, Laura. The one strange thing about this was that at that particular time,
A,
oh, sorry,
arc.
Arc of,
A is arc.
yep. I forgot for a minute. Ark became very sick. His stomach just went completely bonkers, and he has been unable to eat anything but bread and milk for several days now. Was this related? Answer: we did not hear your responses to inquiries. Question, Laura. Well, on 3 different occasions this happened. One vehicle was a taxi, one was an ordinary red car, and the other was a new pickup truck. In the one case, the person seemed to be just parked there and eating. I didn't see what the taxi person was doing. Ark, he was essentially doing nothing, just sitting there. Laura, and then the truck. Somebody stopped and got out and was doing something. And I thought it might be a meter reader, but by the time we saw the woman, she was getting back in the truck. And it was not a regular service truck from the water or power companies. Answer: in future, when you notice suspicious activities such as this, record them. If necessary, approach the vehicle in a friendly manner. Explain to them your required response as a member of a neighborhood crime watch team. Observe aerial anomalies as well. Be vigilant and on guard. That's an interesting that they say to
Because
be like,
not every car that parks outside of your house is there to hurt you. In fact,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
most of them aren't. So I think they're also saying, like, don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't
just
let your
yeah,
imaginations take over you because sometimes people just park on the side of the road sometimes to either check a map. I mean, this was in the 90s, so there was no cell phone. So they might have been like
yeah,
checking their directions.
yep,
Or maybe they're trying to kill time because they're early for an appointment. Or maybe they're out on a not every I would guess that most cars that pass your house, 99% of them have no intention of hurting you.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, look, I can understand how it's easy to get carried away when you're on like hyper alert, and sometimes you can just overread into things. But I love that they help remind them to just stay grounded and just be like, look, it's all good. Just, check it out. Question, Ark. I would like to know what brought on my drastic and prolonged stomach problem. Was it my fault? Laura, was it the turkey, the vitamins, or what? Answer: the potential for food poisoning requires greatly increased awareness on your part. Remember, this is a perfect modus of attack. Wash hands often. Be very careful with what you ingest.
And I
Mhm.
think oddly that goes for a lot of us now, just in general.
Yeah,
Just be aware.
yeah, absolutely. Question, Laura. I double washed the greens in the salad. The meat was fresh from the deli. Answer: deli meats in this era verboten. Question, Laura. I guess I have to cook everything myself. No more prepared foods. Answer: there is currently a huge problem there. But why? Ignorance feeds opportunity for experimentation. If ever needed, many could be eliminated this way. After all, how ignorant the populace.
As
Wow.
I was just saying, and I'm terrible at cooking. I don't know how to cook at all, but my boyfriend's a good cook. But
Yeah.
that's what they're saying. Like,
What? And
again, just because you ignore the fact that there could be corruption in your food doesn't mean the corruption's not there, right? Like, it doesn't mean that it's not there.
yeah.
That's another reason why, for me, again, it's another important to exercise because that is also a detoxing process.
Yes.
So it helps the elimination as well. So taking spirituality out of it in general, the exercise also helps balance. Because this is in 1999, guys. Like, we're in 2025.
Yeah.
It's way worse now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's way worse now than it was back
Way
then.
worse. So
Oh my goodness. Okay, so question, Laura. I thought it was the turkey. It wasn't the greens or the dressing, but I had them slice it from a fresh roast. Frank, there is a lot of this sort of thing happening. It's in the news all the time. It is getting worse and more frequent. How can we be sure that our water is okay? Answer, RO. So do you know what is
It's
R?
just a water filtration
Oh,
system, a particular
okay.
brand that they have.
Right.
So, and I think again, this is 1999. I mean, I was 16 in 1999. So what, you were 12,
Yeah,
Paula?
yeah.
So I don't think our millennial generation, I'm an elder millennial, I don't think I actually drank water until I was like 30.
Well,
Like kids today,
yeah,
they
I
go to school with water bottles and
yeah, well, I started to get into drinking water when I was like 13, 14 because my older sister was like really health conscious. She took me along to like yoga classes and she encouraged me to have a water bottle because it was kind of in fashion then, but it was only just starting to come in fashion. So prior to that, yeah, I rarely drank water. So
and we
yeah,
would drink out of like water fountains where all the
yes,
kids put their, which probably got our herd immunity up. But we weren't
yeah,
thinking like in 1999. I don't think we were really thinking about water filtration systems.
no
Just
way.
drank from the tap, the
Yeah,
hose outside, drinking from the hose outside. And
yeah,
so this interesting that they're talking about this in 1999. You have to remember this from 1999 since reading, guys, because now most people I know, including us, have a water filtration system.
yeah, absolutely.
So they're telling you get there. That's so they're basically saying that they have this particular water filtration system. I think they're really good water filtration systems all over. You have to do research though.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, question, Laura. Yes, we have an RO water filter. Frank, yes, when you have the combination of a water softener and a reverse osmosis purifier, there is very little chance that you will have any contaminants in your water, even if it is deliberately put into the water. There was an article today about a local well that had high levels of radiation. I don't think the RO will filter that, however. Laura, essentially, we are living in dangerous times. Frank, yes, what an easy way to eliminate people by putting things in the food or water. One more health question. What is this blister that both of us have? Answer, germ. Question, Laura, a germ? Answer, yes, but mild.
Can I say I'm just laughing where she says this?
Yeah,
Like 1999 was rainbows and butterflies.
yeah,
Get
compared to
ready.
now.
I'm like, I mean, they're still chilling out, but it's shit's about to pop off. Like you ain't
Yeah,
seen nothing yet.
yeah,
So
wait till 2020. Oh my God.
yes.
Okay, question, Laura. I want to ask what happened to our tape recorder several sessions ago when it recorded at about triple speed. Answer, EM interference. Question, Laura, from what source? Answer, radio towers.
This is before cell phones, guys. Like I remember radio towers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too.
yeah.
Question, Laura, how could EM interference from a radio tower cause my tape recorder to record at triple speed when it is a one-speed recorder? Answer, you remember your 30-second long phone ring 5.5 years ago? Question, Laura, sort of. I remember that happening once. It was completely strange. It started ringing and it was like stuck. Answer, enough dead.
That's why they cracked me up. They said enough said. For those who are young ones in the audience, so back in the day, especially in the 90s and the 80s and before when telephones, we had landlines
Yeah,
and there would ring and then it would and then it would pause, ring. So for a phone to just ring for 30 seconds would have been very strange back then.
yeah, yeah.
So but it's kind of interesting too because sometimes I wonder sometimes if this stuff is just accidental, it's not even like on purpose, but I guess we're gonna get into it. So
Question, is this EM interference from radio towers directed? Answer, more like attracted. Mm. Question, attracted by all of us, any particular one of us, or what we are doing here? Answer, the latter, so what they are doing here.
It's just energy attraction.
Yeah. Question, Laura. And of course, at that exact time, we were asking questions about the Yahtzee mind programming, Arizona Wilder and her wild claims regarding present day mind programming. And we actually lost some of the tape because of the speed. We were able to recover a lot by digitizing the recording and speeding it up and enhancing it somewhat. A 45-minute side of tape finished recording in about 15 minutes. And then another bizarre thing is that it didn't trigger the auto shut off when it hit the end of the tape. We continued the session thinking we had a tape going, but it had already ended. I had to reconstruct about 20 minutes of the session. Another funny thing was that last Saturday, we were sitting there playing the last part over and over again to determine exactly where the tape had ended, and it kept ending on Kennedy. And of course, that night we hear that JFK Jr. has been unalived. Then, of course, Art points out that these Kennedy people aren't very bright. They should have figured out by now that they are under special attack conditions for some reason and should never take risks. So I want to know, what is the deal on this JFK Jr. plane crash? Answer, lack of awareness feeds fate.
So again, that goes back to knowledge is power, knowledge protects. And I want to remind people that according to the Cassiopeians, as well as the military back channel, he's not alive.
Mm-hmm.
He left. So be very weary of people telling you that certain people are alive. They're getting you to believe in a savior that's not coming.
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You got to save yourself.
And you can't expect somebody out there to come back and save you. You got to do the work yourself.
Even if he did fake his unaliving, what's that got to do with you, too?
Yeah.
He's going to be focused on his family, his friends. It's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So again, that's really, that service to self.
It's not really going to impact us that much.
Nope. Yep.
So, question, Laura, that's the truth. And of course, now all the tabloids and rumor mongers are saying that this kind of plane couldn't do such a nosedive. Somebody heard an explosion. The rumors are just flying. And in relation to rumors, there are a lot of them flying around about the weather. What's the deal with all the recent weather activity? These terribly unusual lightning storms. Answer, increased static electricity in atmosphere. Question, Art, is it only in our region or all over the planet? Answer, latter. Question, Laura, well, it seems to be discharging over our heads. I have never witnessed such lightning. Art, okay, I was trying to figure out how to build this expanded gravity, and I made a table to assist the question. The first possibility is that one could build gravity on a square matrix. This matrix can be symmetric, can be non-symmetric, or can be a complete matrix, which I call possibilities A, B, and C. The second possibility is to build a theory of gravity on the basis of a connection which looks like a cube rather than a matrix. Here we also have three possibilities. No curvature, but torsion? No torsion, but curvature, torsion and curvature. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this stuff.
But I'm laughing because is this Ark asking this? I think Laura.
Oh, totally.
Todd always, Ark is Laura's husband.
Yeah, it's Ark. You can just tell because he's so scientific.
Well, Todd's always like, oh, fucking hell, Ark asked the most boring questions. No offense, Ark, but Laura and Ark are married. So.
If you're a science buff, then it's probably fascinating. But if you're not, it just is like, woo, over the head.
These are dreadfully boring, Ark's question. Whenever we're reading it, Todd's like, ah, shit. Whenever Ark asking questions.
Oh, okay,
I basically think he's talking about weather modification is what I get from this.
Yeah.
We can kind of skip through that, which they're like, kind of. I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, should we look at Ark stuff or should we?
Oh yeah, no, I'm quite happy just to skip through
Skip
that.
over. It's all for
It,
the science
I
people. I'm
think,
gonna put this link down below if you want to read it,
yeah.
but I apologize, Ark. But bro, your questions are super boring. They're just
If
boring.
anyone's fascinated, they can read through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look through because yeah, it's all about the sciencey stuff, and I just they talk about volcanoes. Yeah, if there's anything that jumps out
Oh, so what's
to
this
you.
about? Terry and Jan Roadmerk poisoned this link.
Oh,
Uh,
I guess he wrote an email to somebody. It's,
okay.
but I don't know if they meant to. Yeah, okay. So she put in brackets, I suspect that this, because they're friends, I suspect
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this response did not suggest, did this consciously or deliberately.
Hmm.
So it could have just been a mistake, an
Right.
accident in sending the link. And again, guys, remember, this was when computers were first
Yeah, very new.
new. And I fuck up links all the time in 2025. So I think these little mistakes were probably happening a lot,
Yeah.
especially these people, they're older. They were like, I think Laura was like 50 when she started doing this. So, like there's it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and for them to have to learn that, yeah, you have to always, and I think it's the Cassiopeans in reading say you always have to give for human error. Like sometimes
Yeah.
human error is not malicious; it's just human error.
Absolutely.
You can't
Yeah.
hold on to that grudge of it being malicious when there was no intent. And even Ross says that like it's your intentions behind
Mhm.
the actions that matter. So if something was done unintentionally, the universe isn't holding that against you because it was simple human error.
Yeah.
So,
We all make
okay.
mistakes.
So I think that this is all still more sciency stuff, with ARC stuff.
Yeah.
I apologize, ARC, if you see something that jumps out at you, stop me, Paula. But I just I get my the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, the wah 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 that starts going in my head when science stuff comes up. Are we ever gonna win an O Nobel Prize? I think she was joking that open.
Open. And then that's the end of the session.
Yeah, and that's the end. So guys, I to me the most fascinating part of that was the Don Elkin stuff, the Love and Light stuff, and there's way more. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll show you guys if you go and you type it into the search bar, it'll pull up. Now you have to be very careful because they're also going to pull up every time and is mentioned as well, so you're going to get a lot of readings and my computer's being very slow. But if you go to the link and you can just type in whatever you want and see what pulls up.
Well, I'd
And that's
like
how you
to just share one little thing because you sent me a few links to read about. And there was a little bit that I kind of just screenshotted on my phone while I was reading it because I just thought it was really interesting. Um, and
and
so
Paula, I
basically,
think my computer, my internet, okay, I'm asking for help, but if I cut out, just keep reading.
okay. So basically, I think it was, I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but the answer, oh, hold on. That's right. It was about a sickness that was caused on for the mother. I'm not sure. I think it was maybe Ark. Ark's mum was sick or something. And so the question was, are you suggesting that this sickness of his mother's has been caused from fourth density service to self? And then answer lesson number one. And this is the bit that I kind of highlighted on my phone because I just thought this is really important for us to know. So answer lesson number one, always expect attack. Lesson number two, know the modes of same. So basically understand the modes of attack. And then lesson number three, know how to counteract same. So basically understand how to counteract the attacks. And question, when a person is sick, old, and one's mother, the only thing to do is take care of it. But I guess that is true that anything that tends to cause interference in doing what one is here, oh, and then it's blocked out a little bit, but it was just basically saying about when you are under attack, expect the unexpected. If it is going to cause problems, question. So if there is something that can cause problems, expect it to happen. Answer. But if you expect it, you learn how to head it off, thus neutralizing it. This is called vigilance, which is rooted in knowledge. And what does knowledge do? Question, protects. And yeah, so basically, I just wanted to share that because I just think
Yeah.
that's just so important to understand that. Yeah.
Let go of the love and light and know that this world is both light and darkness, and you have to understand that and
Yeah.
to ignore the darkness and to cut people off. Like if somebody comes to you and needs to talk about something heavy, don't sit there and say, well, we got to think positive. No, because that's
And
actually
let
hurting that
them,
person
yeah,
because you're
and they need
uncomfortable.
to get it off, and that's something that I love about my kinesiologist. Over the years, she's always just kind of just said to me over and over to just really, like, for example, with my girls, if they're having certain emotions, don't shut them down. Let them feel what they feel because they're allowed to feel what they want to feel, you know.
Mhm.
And I think the focus now is not just ignoring those emotions. Feel what you feel, but it's how you behave, it's how you react, and it's how you treat other people when you feel a certain way. And I say to my girls now, I'm like, you're allowed to be angry, but certain behaviors are not acceptable. So you
Right.
can be angry and you can go to your room and you can scream in your pillow or you can punch your pillow or, do something to get your
Boxing
anger
video.
out. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you cannot abuse other people or throw things or
That
whatever.
projection, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's all about facing and being honest about what you're feeling. Don't hide that. But then you need to process it in a healthy way. And I've actually been really encouraging my girls as much as they don't want to. I'm like, you've got journals, write in them. It is so powerful. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
when I was 13 and 14, I started to get a bit of depression then. And that was because I just moved into my dad's house. So I was pretty much living alone with my dad. And my dad's the sweetest person, but he's not emotionally available. He just doesn't understand about that. So I felt very alone. And so I don't know where I heard about it, but I heard somewhere about writing in a journal. And you know what? That was the best thing I did. That really got me through high school because I just wrote about everything that I was going through. And it was so helpful
You're
in
releasing that
yeah,
instead of resisting it and packing it away.
yeah,
Yeah, I would say, if somebody comes to you with a really heavy sorrow, and you don't know what to do with their information, you have the right to say, you can vent to me, but I don't know if I have the answers to help you.
yeah.
Right?
But
But don't cut
sometimes
them off.
But sometimes people don't even want you to have a solution for them.
They
They
just
just
want to
want
vent.
someone
They want to
that
get it off.
cares. They want a safe space. And that's another thing that I've had to learn because I'm such a problem solver all the time. I just want to fix everything for everyone. And I've also had to realize that if my girls to me come to me and have a problem that they want, or a friend or anyone comes to me with a problem, I don't have to have a solution.
No.
Sometimes people don't even want that. They just want a safe space where they can just share how they're feeling and just feel heard and cared about. And sometimes that is just medicine within itself. I mean,
And the
look,
fact that
I've
they
even done
trust
it
you
with
enough.
you. I've messaged you about stuff and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I was so emotional about
Oh,
that. But as soon as I sent it to you, I felt so much better because what was on my mind, I had shared it. And you're
mhm.
always so beautiful with the way that you're so sweet and you're so grounded and you have such a good response for things. And then I was just like, oh, I just feel so much better now. Like, even if it wasn't a solution, I just felt better because it was just out of my head, out of off my mind.
Yeah, and that's what people need to be validated in their feelings. And sometimes it is just, and if somebody comes to you, like I feel honored that you trusted me to be that, because
Absolutely.
when someone's venting, they're in a vulnerable situation.
Yeah. And so
They're
they
in a
must
situation.
really trust you and like you as a person if they're going to open
Yeah.
up to you.
So
Yeah.
don't try to shut them down. Like, because think about that. When you're in a place where you're venting, it's very easy for the other person to twist your words to create more chaos. But if you're
Yeah.
with someone that is that's not going to leave, they're a safe place for you to
Yeah.
vent. Even if they don't have a solution, they can be an ear.
Yeah.
Don't shut that. If someone comes to you with that and they just don't you don't have to have, just don't try to toxic positivity them.
Yeah.
Let them, sometimes things just suck. And
Yeah.
sometimes people want to hear you say, "Yeah, that really fucking sucks." Like
Mm-hmm.
that's awful. I'm so sorry. Like that sucks because
Yeah.
then they understand that they're not crazy and they can
Yes.
feel okay. And when we say, "Well, let's not talk about this. Let's keep positive thoughts," then that
Or I've
cuts
had
out
that happen
their
to me, and it's
voice.
a horrible
Same,
feeling because then
same.
you just
I've
feel
had
like,
me too.
great, I just feel like there's something wrong with me because I can't just feel be positive right now in this situation. It's horrible, actually.
Yeah.
And
I mean, my teacher in India, whenever we were upset in the yoga room, he would just have very simple things he would say. He wouldn't say, "Stop crying,
Mhm.
stop fearing." He would say, "Why fearing? Why fearing?
Oh,
Why crying? Why?"
yeah.
To
And
get you to think about like what's triggering that.
yes.
He didn't claim to have the solution
No, but
for
he
you.
wants you to go within to find the answers in yourself because we have the answer in there. So that's
Yeah.
very smart of him.
Why crying? Why fearing? Why fearing? Yeah. And like Mariella said in our interview, like she's right. Whenever you were facing a scary posture or that triggered you, sometimes him just stepping on your mat, like
Mhm.
he would know that and he would just step on your yoga mat and just having him there, he was giving you support so that you could dive into that fear, knowing that he was right there. He didn't say anything.
Yeah,
He didn't even touch you.
yeah,
And so be that support just by a friend coming to you because they're frustrated at work or maybe they're frustrated with their boyfriend or maybe you think they're wrong in their perception of something. It doesn't matter if they're coming to you for them to vent, let them.
yes.
You don't have to have a solution because sometimes even venting you start to when I've done it in the past where I've vented, I start to realize my false thinking. Like,
Yeah.
oh, now I'm saying this out loud. I can see where I might have misjudged the situation.
Hmm. Yeah, and,
So
or just realizing something, or just realizing that maybe, yeah, you saw it in the wrong way or whatever, or just, and even like with the journal writing too, sometimes there's been certain things where this I haven't really wanted to share it with anyone, but I just need to get it off my chest. And so I'll write about it. And then sometimes like I'll get to the end of it and I have come up with a solution and I'm like, oh my gosh. But you can't see it until you get it out of your
you
head.
lean into it because you're leaning
Yeah.
into it. You're not resisting it. You're
Yeah.
actually leaning into it. And so
Yeah.
once you see the problem for what it is, it stops becoming so scary, right? And so the biggest message from this is I would tell people, especially if you're new to spirituality, light and love community, I would just steer, I'd be have
Very
a lot of
careful.
discernment, because it's toxic positivity and real spirituality in this level is pretty dark because
Yeah,
you're having to deal with yourself. But don't run from that because that's where it's interesting.
it
The
is.
things that you excel at, that's not interesting. You don't, like if we look at just something very simple, physicality, my hamstrings are pretty open, my hips are pretty open. So forward folding, leg behind the head stuff is fun for me. That's fun for me to do. I don't feel a whole lot of intense pain or tension. Back bending though is where I struggle.
Yeah.
So I have to into, and I've become in Atlanta known to be one of the best backbending teachers because I've had to really lean into that because that's where my karma is. And so don't run from your karma.
Yeah.
Another example of this is like when people have like I was said in the video that I just sent to you for the prepping for core, I have 5 herniated discs. When
Wow.
people email me and say I can't work out because I have a herniated disc, I'm like, get in line. I got 5 herniated discs.
Wow.
Not an excuse.
I
What
didn't
are you
realize
talking
you had five.
That's
Oh my
five. That's
goodness.
not a fucking excuse. Like, if you have a human body, you're gonna have things that hurt. That's part of
Yeah.
having a body. What makes you think that you're allowed to skip over your pain, but everybody else isn't?
But I
And
think
so,
in most situations, sorry to interrupt, Bryce, but in most situations, I think that you can always find a solution. I mean, even people in wheelchairs can still manage to do some
yeah,
kind of strength training with their arms and
absolutely.
getting outside and going for walks and things. There's different, like obviously walking in the wheelchair, but you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
there's
Like, yeah, there's still things that you can do to get your body moving. So
yeah.
I think
And how
it's just excuses, and we have to learn to be strong and to be brave and to face those excuses because they're just fears at the end of the
yeah.
day. It's fears underneath the excuse.
And we can't use our pain to weaponize other people, to weaponize ourselves.
Mhm.
That's not, we can't use our, well, light and love. I don't need to, I said in the video, I'm on zero medication for my back, zero. And I have no back pain, no back pain. Why is that? Because I work my ass off to
Yeah.
course correct my body because I understand that having 5 herniated discs means that I have karma in my spine. I've already had back surgery once when I was a kid. Like I obviously have I've broken my sacrum. I obviously have massive karma in that area. So what
Yeah.
does that mean? That means that I have to do more to look at that, to
Yeah.
see what it's teaching me. I'm not gonna sit around and eat bonbons and just play around on social media all day because I'm not gonna use my shadow as an excuse not to actually do my shadow work. Don't use your shadow work as an excuse not to do your shadow work. I mean, even on our platform, Paula, I won't say their names, but we have students who have legitimate health concerns, like
Yep.
long lasting, and they are the most active on the platform.
Yep.
And
But
they
it's
tell
not
us about
stopping them from
yeah,
participating.
they let me know what's going on, so I'm more aware of what they're working with.
Hmm.
But they are on those calls, they are doing the classes, they are celebrating their bodies instead of actually. They were some of the first, our students who have the health problems were some of the first to sign up for our academy when we first opened. And
Yeah.
so that's a celebration. It's there's all where there's a will, there's a way, and every single human body has some faulty parts. People have bad knees, people got shoulder issues. Not one human being. Talk to a marathon runner, get a marathon runner to tell you all their injuries. You'll be sitting there for 2 hours as they list off all their injuries and everything they're working with in their body.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So don't ever use your shadow work as an excuse not to do your shadow work.
Hmm.
Where you have the weakness, the darkness, that's the point. And
Yes,
that's what I'm telling you. That's what's interesting. That's the interesting part of you.
it
The
is.
stuff you're good at, that's not interesting. That's boring. That's boring. That's like ARC's questions. They're boring. Let's look at where
Oh,
you're.
poor Ark.
I know. Let's look at. I'm just teasing ARC. It's just
Yeah.
kind of funny because you're such the scientist nerdy guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think half the people who read actually, I mean, I don't understand his questions. I think half of us are like, don't even know what that is. Um,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, where you have weakness, that's where it's interesting.
Yeah.
That's where the story gets interesting.
That's where
That's
you
where
want
it's
to go.
juicy.
Hmm.
And that weakness, if you lean into that weakness and you explore that weakness, that's actually where you find your biggest strength.
Yeah.
That's where you find the side of you that is so unbelievably cool and unique and powerful. It's not the stuff you're naturally good at.
Yeah. And I agree with that so much. I mean, going back to my early 20s, yeah, I was still a lovely person, but I like who I am now so much better
Me too.
because I've still got a lot of work to do. I'm not saying that
Same.
you're never done, but I like the person that I am now because of the growth that I've done, because I have faced some of those shadows. And even though it's been uncomfortable and it's been scary at times, it really brings out the best in you and your potential. And I feel like, man, we're not reaching our full potential if we are just ignoring all of that stuff. And of course, that's the whole point of it all, isn't
Right.
it? The whole
Yeah.
focus on the love and light, focus on the positivity.
They
So
want to pull a
you're
service to sell.
yeah, because then you're not reaching your full potential. Because just imagine what the world would be like if all of us were reaching our full potential. We would
Oh, it
be
would be amazing.
phenomenal.
We would already be at fourth density.
I don't think very many people would be employed at all.
No, we would already be in fourth density where we're in a social memory complex. Anyway, I will
Yeah,
say, think about it this way. Back in the 90s, and I'm going to use Oprah as an example. We know Oprah's corrupt. We get that.
yeah,
But back in like the 90s, what about Oprah attracted women to her show? One of the biggest things that attracted women like my mom to her show was
mhm.
because Oprah struggled with her weight. You
Yeah,
watched her weight fluctuate. She talked about it all the time. She talked about working on. So that attracted people to her because it was human. It
absolutely.
was it was
It's
uniquely
real.
human and it's real and people could relate to it. So
Yeah.
where you have your weaknesses, that's where your humanity lies.
Yeah, that's your golden ticket to help
Yes.
people.
And that's why I'm so excited about doing a backbending video because I have had to myself for 19 years. I have had to go through, there were days where I would be on my mat sobbing in physical pain. I usually emotionally only cry after practice, but physical pain, I'm a Scorpio moon. So my back would be in so much pain, but I knew that if I kept going, I was going to have a breakthrough.
Mhm.
And I did. And now I have not suffered back pain. God, 10 years maybe. Like it's been a long
That's
time
so
since I've had a really
incredible.
bad, and I know I've had x-rays done. I still have, or I still have, they're still there. They're still herniated. But what I've done is I've met the needs of my body. So when the discs are herniated, instead of running to the doctor, getting steroids, all sorts of
Wow.
stuff, I've dealt with the sorcery. I won't say the PH word, but that's what that means, is sorcery. I've actually used my own body. And anytime I start to feel any type of like weariness in the back, not pain, but like, oops, a little weird, what do I do? Total core work. I go, okay, thank you, body. Thank you for letting me know that there's something lagging. Now I need to go in and I need to like fix that and like pull that. It's my response. It's my body. So it's
Yes.
my responsibility.
Yeah.
Those are
100%.
my that disc might be herniated, but guess what? They're my babies. Those are my herniated discs. So I'm gonna take that responsibility myself. And so I think if people just really stopped using their shadow work as an excuse not to do their shadow work, they would realize their full potential and that the things that hurt them the most are actually lose their power when you actually just work with that pain.
Yeah.
Lean into it.
Absolutely. And then the closer we're going to get to 40 positive.
Exactly, exactly. Come on. Selfishly, I'm a
Yeah.
little perturbed because they have given us the Cassiopeia. We were already supposed to be there, y'all, a long ass time ago.
I can't believe
But
that.
self,
Oh my
I
God.
know. And next week I have a new while I'm gone, I have a new, I think it's scheduled to drop a week from today, a week from Tuesday, and a
Hmm.
new going through the 2020 fiasco. I can't say the C word.
Hmm.
From the C's.
Yep.
And that will be over on the RUMBLE. I'll put a little commercial here, but it'll be over obviously. And I think I need to send it to you.
Yes, you
Have I
do.
sent
Yeah.
you that? Perfect.
Not yet.
I'll send it to you
At
with the
least I don't
Esoteric
think so.
Academy.
Hmm.
Yeah. And they say that this is humanity's last chance, dish effort. They're buying us more time so that, and I think in my personal opinion, we're waiting on the truthers to wake up. Because a
Wow.
while ago, the Cassiopeians said only 3% of human population at this point is ready to go to 4D. And every souled person who came here on the planet was harvestable. Nobody on the planet right now is not harvestable, but now only 3%. That's how good of a job the
They,
service to self side has done
wow.
manipulating us. And it's mostly through the truther community. So wake up, truthers. Wake up. I think the truther ego too is kind of like Joseph Smith. I think people's egos got big because they're awake and others aren't. And so now
Yes.
they can't, that
It's
ego
almost
has become the
worse.
shadow work. And it's
Yeah.
gotten where the arrogance has gotten worse.
Yeah.
And so it's become most truthers are service to self now because it's all
Yes.
about me, med beds, Nasara, me. I know more than you do. Me. These people are wearing masks to save me. It's all about me. That's all service to self.
Yeah.
So what a grand job the service to self 40 entities have done to turn people who are harvestable to go positive to turn them negative.
Yeah.
So it's a last ditch effort, guys. This is like a group project where only a few of us are actually doing the work. Get your asses in gear because soon they're not going to be able to buy us any more time, and that'll just be that. And if you go negative, you go negative, and you got no one to blame but you for
Hmm.
that. So I would just definitely say, wake up, please.
Yes.
Stop following people like cult leaders.
Hmm.
There's no such thing as a pecking order. There's no elite bloodline that's coming to save you. That's negatively, or if you believe that, that's a negative orientation. So please read the Law of One. Cassiopean
Yeah.
link will be down below.
Hmm.
And come join us over on the Esoteric Academy. We have fun. We get
Absolutely.
sweaty. We have fun. So,
We do. We have lots of fun.
all right. Well, I got to jump on a call with Catherine Edwards soon. I'm getting all my
Yes.
backup filming in before I go, you guys. But thank you, Paula, for this.
Oh,
And
thank
um,
you. I
and we
loved
will see
it.
you guys. Hey, you guys, if there's anything you want, if there's any topic you want me to check with the
Mhm.
Cassiopeans, somebody was telling me because they were new with the board, they're having a hard time figuring out how to work it. I'm lucky because I have a Cassiopean expert that I sleep beside every night. So I can always, so if there's a
Awesome.
topic you want me to check, even if it's some wild like mystery, I mean, we have fun with that too. I love
Oh,
covering the man
so
in
much
the iron
fun.
mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in the comment section and I'll look at it and see what I can find.
Yeah.
And when I get back, we can definitely look at we can have fun with this too. We'll have fun with it too.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
all
All
right, you
right.
guys.
Well, so
We'll
good
see
to
you
chat to
later.
you. And thanks for
Yes.
joining us, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.